Basketball.
Welcome back to Notballtalk. It's your host Dietrich, back at you with another one. And today we're gonna be talking about NCAA March Madness men's basketball. Um, Following last episode, of course I was wrong on a couple of things, but I was right on something though. So we're gonna take the good with the good, and we're gonna take the bad with the bad. Um, we're gonna start it off with the UConn San Diego State game. I kind of seen that coming. UConn is a great program. Nothing really needs to be talked about there. It was just a better team, and they got their mind on a big goal this year, and hopefully they get it done again. Um, oh, before we get into the rest of this, we got to pay homage to one of the best, Lamb Bias. We rocking a jersey today. Since it's a March Madness video, it's only right that I wear a college jersey. Shout out Lamb Bias. One of the greatest what if stories probably in history for real. On to the next game though. We got Illinois, Iowa State. Me personally, I thought Iowa State was going to win. I thought there was a better team, a better fluid offense, but they didn't come to play that game. Illinois was the better team. Um, they were just hot. Shannon was hot. Iowa State just couldn't get it going in the beginning. They just started off very slow, and they paid for it in the end. I mean, they had opportunities to win the game in the end, but they just couldn't capitalize. On to the U. So with them two teams winning, UConn and Illinois, they end up playing next, and UConn just totally took advantage of Illinois. As me and my friends like to say, Illinois got their chain snatched. UConn just winning straight deboed them. They gave them no remorse, no chance to even breathe. And Illinois, I mean, they just couldn't hit nothing for her. I mean, the Shannon, the dude who was hot against Iowa State, he had 8 points. He was 2 for 12. He couldn't really buy a bucket. His confidence started getting lower and lower throughout the game, and stuff just happens. One player who was trying his hardest was Domask. He had 17 points. He was 7 for 13 from the field. But the whole team just couldn't get it going. They were 17 for 67 as a team, 6 for 23 from the 3-point line. He had 7 assists as a team. 7 assists as a team. And UConn was just a better team that night, better program. 31 for 60 from the field. They stuck to what they know. And their big man, who was giving them very good minutes, very good points. They was 3 for 17 from the 3-point line as a team. They had 45 rebounds as a team, 21 assists as a team playing together, and they had 10 blocks as a team. 5 of those was coming from their big man. Clinigan, I believe his name is. He had 22 points, 9 for 13 from the field. Gave him very, 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 very great minutes, and forced his dominance all over the. I keep saying field, all over the court that day. I keep thinking about football. And UConn also went on a crazy 30-0 run. So they came out on top of that game, totally blew out Illinois, 77-52. Yeah, UConn moves on. Next, we're gonna talk about the other side of the bracket, and who UConn is going to be facing up against in Alabama, which I also called that upset against them in North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina, I just don't think they came out to play that day. Like I said in my last video, it all depends on how R.J. Davis was going to play. He didn't have a great game. UNC lost. R.J. Davis was very non-existent in that game, in my opinion. I think he went like 4 for 20, 0 for 9 from the 3-point line. Baycott definitely had a great game, though. He was a dominant force down low until Alabama start adjusting to it. My bad if y'all see me looking off. I'm currently watching the LSU game. But Alabama kind of caught they picked up what they was doing. You know what I'm saying? They're good by the coaching staff. They adjusted to Baycott, and they adjusted to the lack of shooters UNC had on the floor, and they just couldn't hit threes that day. So it was no point of of Alabama's defense keep trying to step with them on the 3-point line when you wasn't knocking it down. Your only player that's scoring is coming from the inside of the paint. Let's go ahead, double team him, trap him, force him to swing the ball out, and force y'all to make threes, force y'all to hit shots. And what UNC could not do, except I believe like one pair, Cormac Ryan, he was 5 for 10, and he had 17 points on the night. I believe he was 5 for 10 from the 3-point line, if I'm not mistaken. But on to Alabama, Grant Nelson, big-time players make big-time plays, and he stepped up that game as long as the whole Alabama team did. Estrada was 9 for 17, 19 points. Ryan Griffin, 19 points, 6 for 12. Mark Sears, 7 for 14, 18 points. Grant Nelson, 6 for 9, 24 points, 12 rebounds. They just played together as a team. Everybody was scoring on all cylinders. Like I said in my last video, they're a very good offensive team, very good shooting team. Um, if one person is lacking, the other person was going to pick it up. It's definitely, like I said, UNC had their hands for that game. So it was a lot for them to overcome with RJ Davis not playing well. But, I mean, the better team won that game. Now, one question that I do have for the people that is watching, in my opinion, I believe RJ Davis kind of cost his team that win. He took a lot of shots as a point guard and as a primary ball handler. You got to know sometimes, let me stop shooting the three ball. Let me maybe get downhill. Let me maybe, get my team more involved and use me more so as a decoy if I'm not getting my shot down. But also in basketball, you do got to believe in your best players and instill confidence in them. So if you're the coach, I would like to ask people, what I'm saying, what would you tell your best player in one instance? What would you tell RJ Davis if you was the coach and you was trying to win the game? What possibly could you tell him at that point in time in a game, or what could you tell him towards the end of the game? Or another question I may ask is, if you was UNC's coach and you knew your best player wasn't having that perfect game today, what lineup change would you make? Would you bench him, or how would you do that? Because in that game, UNC head coach or UNC coaching staff, they bench Elliot Cadeau, who I think maybe he may not be the best shooter or that good of a shooter on the 3-point wise, but he made more threes than RJ Davis. But of course, RJ Davis the better player. Elliot Cadeau, if I'm correct, he's a freshman, but he also made some plays where I believe he probably should have kept him in instead of RJ Davis, who was kind of like really causing them points on the floor. But I don't know. It's just a question for you guys. So then again, would you guys bench RJ Davis, or would you guys bench your star player if they're not having the best of the game in a win or go home situation like that? Or would I keep him on the floor? Let me know. On to the next game, Clemson and Arizona. I was wrong about that game. I believe Arizona was the better team. I thought they was going to come out with a W on that game also, but unfortunately they didn't. Um, Clemson just came out hot. I mean, some teams just come out better than the next team, and Clemson was obviously that team that day. There was nothing more I could say about that. Like I said, I was wrong on that one. Caleb Love, he kind of like played bad also, like his ex teammate and RJ Davis. They both didn't have a good game. I thought they would have played better than what they displayed that night, but unfortunately it didn't. Everybody has a bad game. Now for the Alabama and Clemson game, um, I think I watched that second half. It was a good game. High power offense is going back and forth. Um, what can I say? Like I said, Alabama's a high offense. You gotta good half. You got to come out and really have a defensive plan to face a high power offense like Alabama. I believe they was one of the best offenses in the NCAA. I may be wrong, but I do know they was one of the best offenses in the SEC for sure. I don't know their exact rankings, but I'm a Kentucky fan. I know very much about Alabama. Um, yeah, but Alabama, we're gonna go on down their stat sheet. Mark Sears, I believe he had 7 3-pointers in a row. He ended up with 23 points. He started off very slow. I believe he started off like over 5, over 6, something of that nature. But he didn't have the greatest beginning, but he had a great, great, great ending to the game. He stepped up when his team needed him. And in basketball, in a game like this, you got to have short term memory. You have to have it. Just like I believe RJ Davis, he could have turned around if he needed, but he just had a bad night. Where Mark Sears, he was having a bad night, but again in the beginning, but he kept a short term memory, kept the thing rolling, and he knew what he needed to do at the end of the game because his team needed him the most. Pringle, he had a lot of second chance points, a lot of offensive rebounds. He was killing the glass, and he hit big time free throws that his team needed going down the stretch. Stevenson Grant, he had a lot of. I mean, I said Stevenson Grant. Stevenson, he had a lot of great minutes. He was 7 for 11. He had 5 3-pointers, and he had 19 points. The Alabama, and like I said, if your star player sometimes may not be playing the best, you need to rely on the rest of your team. And I believe Grant Nelson maybe didn't have the best of game that game. I believe he honestly didn't even play that long, but Stevenson and Pringle stepped up to the plate when the team needed it, and they played one heck of a game. So Alabama ended up beating Clemson, and they're moving on to the Final Four. And I mean, not Final Four, my fault. The Elite Eight, and they're going on to play UConn. Oh no, it is the Final Four. That was just the Elite Eight. So yeah, they're going on to play UConn, and yeah, UConn, Alabama. I believe probably Alabama's going to come. No, I think UConn's going to come out with that game. I think UConn's going to come out with that game. I got UConn winning that game. UConn going straight to the championship. On to the next side of the bracket, we're gonna go with Houston and Duke. I had Houston winning that one. I still believe Houston would have won that one if Jamal Shea did not get hurt. Duke only ended up winning by 3 points. I still believe Houston was the better team. They should have won. I will stand on that. I don't care. Even though Duke did win, I still believe Houston was a better team and should have won that game. But Jamal Shea got hurt. That's an unfortunate event that happened. Hopefully he gains speedy recovery. But shout out Duke. They took advantage of it. They handled business and they went on to win that game. Um, yeah, that's most I gotta say about that game. Honestly, like I said, I still believe Houston was a better team. I still believe they should have won, no question. NC State and Marquette. Um, tough game for Marquette. I had them winning that. Also, I thought NC State's fairy tale was going to win for sure, no question. But I was wrong again. NC State, they stepped up to the plate, as we say. They snatched Marquette chain. Marquette number 2 seed, I believe, or somewhere around then. NC State was like number 11, but as you see, Marquette probably didn't want it enough. Big time players step up, make big time plays. It takes 5 and plus to win a game. Okay? You need more than one person to just attempt to win a game. You need 5 minimum. DJ Burns, like I said, wasn't having the best of game. Um, you need 5 people or more. So as your star player sometimes may not have the best of games, other people need to step up. The other big on their team, Muhammad, stepped up with 11 points, 15 rebounds. DJ Horn had 19 points, and he hit 4 3-pointers in that whole game. And Casey Morsell had 15 points. Shout out home team. He from the home area. And Marquette, I feel like they just shot themselves in the foot, really. They shot too many threes. They wasn't getting to the rim enough. They couldn't get going as a team. I believe like one person, no, 2 people maybe scored like double digits, but they were just shot chucking. They shot 4 for 31 3-pointers as a team, 20 for 60 from the field as a team. They just couldn't get it going. They kind of hurt themselves and hurt their chances. But as I say, the best team always end up winning that game. Um, NC State proved they belong, and they moved on to the next game to face Duke. Now in the NC State and Duke game, I honestly don't. At this point in time, I think I was on the NC State train because you made it this far. You beat a very valid contender in Marquette. It means something. It kind of means you meant to be here at this point. I don't really believe it's a fluke if you made it this far. But once you go back and look at the history, NC State and Duke, they have some very good games going on. NC State kind of is one of the teams who has some of these better teams numbers, just off of the way they play basketball, play the team, and of course with DJ Burns down low, um, other DJ Horn very aggressive on the offensive end. It's kind of hard to match their level of offense with the inside and outness of the team that they have. But Duke does have a good program, but it was definitely a good game. I thought that I thought that Duke was going to make it more competitive, but I think if I can remember the game correctly, NC State was in control most of the game the whole way. Um, Duke was kind of getting a lot of foul trouble. I think Flip probably had like 4 fouls. Both of them had some good amount of fouls. It was the rest was calling their whistles on a lot that game, but nonetheless, NC State still won. You got to capitalize on your opponents on your opponent failure sometimes. If you causing a lot of fouls, you get into the free throw line, you got to take advantage of that. NC State did that night. DJ Burns was 13 for 19, 29 points, hit a big game. DJ Horn 7 for 16, 20 points. And Duke offense just couldn't get the ball rolling. They couldn't get it together as a team. They shot 19 for 59 as a team. 19 for 59 as a team. They could not get going at all. And they shot 5 for 20 from the 3-point line as a team. And the only 5 3-pointers that they made came from one person, and Jared McCain. He went 8 for 20, 5 for 11 from the 3-point line. He had 32 points. I mean, that looked pretty on the stat sheet, 8 for 20, but you know what I'm saying? He still was trying out there. And I think he hit like a lot of free throws, I believe, too. But NC State moved on. Shout out NC State. They're going to play Purdue next, and we're going to get into that side of the bracket. And which I believe I still don't want Purdue to win it. I just don't like Purdue's team, in my opinion, man. But hey, nobody could beat them, so they taking advantage. They taking advantage of the whole jump. They're going crazy this year with Zach Edey, who possibly may win Player of the Year again, Naismith Player of the Year. They had a good game against Gonzaga first. I knew they was going to win that one. Gonzaga isn't. They're not that good of a team to be this year. So Purdue just steamrolled over them. Better team won, no question. Um, Purdue and Tennessee. Hold on, I'm missing a game. Creighton and Tennessee. Great game. Great game. Great game. Great game. High offense game. Uh, High offense game. Nothing more needs to be said. Like I said, I had Tennessee winning that one. I just believe there was a better team also. But Creighton is definitely a well-oiled offense over there too. They have a good starting five, good scores on their team. I believe a couple of their players should go to the league. I don't know if they're coming out this year, but I like how their offense plays together as a team. On to Purdue and Tennessee. Purdue ended up winning that game. Me personally, I put the blame on Tennessee head coach or Tennessee coaching staff in general. Nobody made the adjustments in the game. They seen how Zach Edey was going off, how he was getting the fouls called, and nobody really adjusted to it. And I believe that just comes down to simple coaching, because no way Zach Edey shot 13. He went 13 for 21 from the field, and he had 40 points, 16 boards, and he drew 15 fouls. As a coach, at some point you got to say, all right, let me try something else. Let me switch it up. Let me give him a different look. Let me force him. Let's get the ball out of his hands. Let's see if we could take him out of the game. And I don't think their coaching staff did that at all. They just sat there and they was trying to rotate players in, but at the end of the day, you still can't let your bigs go against him when you know he's bigger, stronger, and probably more fluid in the post game. And they were just allowing it to happen. But nonetheless, I think the Purdue and Tennessee game, like I said, they needed to depend on their best players, in which they did. Dalton had 37 points, 6 threes, 14 for 21. 14 for 31 from the field. Like I said, Zach Edey had 40 points. They just couldn't stop him. So why would I change it up? He just made no adjustments. It was making me mad the whole game because they were just going to Zach Edey the whole game. He was getting his buckets in the post work. He was getting his fouls called. And yeah, and Tennessee, the rest of the team really didn't show up for Dalton that connect that game, and I think that really hurt them the most because he was giving them their all, but nobody else on that team wanted to help him out. I believe like one other person was close to like double digits or had double digits, but excuse me. But it was really hurting them in the long run because nobody else was aggressive on offense. Nobody else was really scoring for real. I believe, except like one guy really. I think he probably had like 11 or 12 points, but once we see it's only one person scoring, it kind of makes the game easier to guard you as a team if it's only one person really threatening us, if I'm a coach and adjusting to that play. But obviously Tennessee didn't get that memo because Zach Edey just down low just kept killing them, kept killing them. But shout out to Purdue though. I mean, if I'm Purdue's coach, why would I switch it up if you're not giving me a different look? I got arguably the best player in the world in college basketball, and I'm gonna stick by him and keep doing what he has to do. On to the Final Four matchup on that side is going to be NC State versus Purdue. My prediction is probably going to be my prediction is going to be NC State. My prediction is going to be NC State. I don't think Purdue's wings and guards could probably keep up with DJ Horn. Hopefully, if he has a good game. Of course, like I always say, I think the game is going to rest on your best player's shoulders. If it's not the best player's shoulders, then the rest of the team has to show up. I think if NC State can find a way to neutralize or slow down Zach Edey, then I think they could probably come on top with a W. So I'm going to have NC State winning the game over Purdue. I'm going to have UConn over Alabama. I feel like I should stick with Alabama, but I'm going to have UConn over Alabama. I'm going to go UConn, NC State in the championship. I'm going to take UConn for that game. UConn is going to be your future men's NCAA champions. Let me know who you guys have winning this year, UConn or Alabama, or are you guys going to take NC State or Purdue? It's your host, Dietrich. This is Notballtalk. We're going to see you guys on the next one.
He passed me the ball. He never passed me the ball.